Did you catch the massive style points that Jett Lawrence had during both motos with no visor? But what was interesting is moto number 2, he didn't crash. So there was suspicion that roost is what took off the magnets of his visor. He is this rider on the outside right here. Boom. You can see him take it off and it fly behind. I'll put it in real time so you can see it. We'll do that again. I'm going to have a quick little deep dive into technique when it comes to old school versus new school. I'm not saying that Kenny has complete old school. It's more of a hybrid because it's not the 90s to 2000s where sometimes you just sit down all the time. People weren't standing up as much. People were more on their heels rather than their toes when it came to cornering. It's a hybrid. And Kenny's incredibly smooth. However, if you watched him ride, he was much more stop, go, stop, drop the clutch, accelerate real fast. He was more jagged. And in the corners, we saw his feet get ripped off the foot pegs multiple times. And we'll pay attention to that with his feet in these next couple scenarios. So this is the start straight. And notice when he goes to stand up, his toes come up and his heels go down. So his heels are below the foot pegs, which that causes to get caught on deep ruts or bumps. And then your leg gets ripped off. And you could potentially twist your ankles, twist your knees. It could be bad. We have a lot of ACL injuries in this sport, and this is one of those things that just happen. But notice also when he's in that attack position, how straight his legs are. And his hips are locked, his legs are locked, his heels are down. He's keeping the front end light because he's on the back of the bike. It's not as fluid as the rider we're going to compare him to when it comes to Jett Lawrence. Notice, when he's coming into the same section, the first thing you can see is that his toes are pointed inward. So they're not sticking out to potentially get caught. And then him being in that attack position, when he leans back and he's standing up, his heels are at a 90. They're not below the foot peg, which prevents him from having his feet get ripped off. Here, I'll do this in real time so you can see as soon as Kenny stands up. And then we'll watch Jett through the same section. Here, let me back up just a little bit. Let's take it one step further to the roughest part of the track. This is a small downhill before the gnarly uphill, getting closer to the finish line. Notice again, Kenny, when he stands up, transitions to that attack position, notice what happens to his heels. Okay? Let's slow that down. So he stands up. He's fairly stiff. Core is tight. Hips are locked. Heels are below the foot pegs. He is keeping the front end light, but it's just those heels. And that's the primary reason as to why his feet got kicked off. And you're just expelling energy when that happens and potentially putting yourself at risk for injury. Kenny is top 1% of 1% riders. However, you've got a new person that's kind of changing the game, not quite to the extent of the Bubba Scrub, but we are changing how we look at riding a dirt bike. Let's watch Jett through the same section. Here, I'll do it in real time again. He is on back of the bike. His knees are more bent. And when he stands up, his heels don't drop. They stay relatively at a 90. And he's got more of a bend in his knees to where he's got less distance between his ass and the rear. Right? Kenny has a few inches where Jett, who's taller, much taller, he's got to have a much larger bend in the leg because of how much taller he is. He's got to move closer to that seat. He's got to have a bigger bend in his knees in order to get there. But his whole body is soaking those bumps up. It's not just the suspension. Here, real time again. We'll do both back to back again. Watch Kenny as he lands off of this triple. He is going to slam on the rear brakes, lock the rear wheel, then clutch drop the bike and zip out. It looks very fast, and it is very fast, but it is expelling energy, and it's not just this fluid, continuous, keep a continuous speed all the way through the corner. Here he is, slamming on that rear brake. Boom, there's a clutch drop. Accelerate out. It's a stop and go. Meanwhile, the heavier rider, Jett Lawrence, is not fighting the motorcycle, even though he could manhandle the bike. Here, in this uphill little single, he's jumping over all the ruts and then just coasting into the corner and getting on the gas or being on the gas throughout the entire corner. There's no need to brake. It's just a fluid motion of keeping your RPMs and your speed continuous. No stop and go. No sudden decrease in miles an hour and then big pulse up. No nitrous oxide boost, if one would call it. And you could see in the next clip that I'm showing you, Jett is behind Kenny. This is in the first moto after Jett went down and needed to get back around Ken. You can see Kenny as he rolls goes in there, and they're relatively using the same line. But watch Jett as he just jumps over those ruts and just holds the acceleration on. Here, we'll put that in real time. Jump over. That was just an example. Here again, jumps into that corner. And watch in the next corner, while Ken is a little bit more jagged, Jett is light on his feet, and he's just hopping over these bumps. Here's the first hop. Boom. And then the second hop, boom, where Kenny's a little bit more dropping into the stuff and hitting back and forth. There's a perfect scrub jump on Highpoint as they're going up this hill before the finish line. And I can't say a whole lot on it besides just comparing the couple different techniques between riders, because we all know if you can hit a jump harder, well, you can have the ability to scrub more. And so therefore you stay lower, and consequentially your lap times are lower, but you have to hit the jump harder and you have to expel a little bit more energy to hold that bike down as far as scrub harder. So up first, we'll have Jett show you, and this is a perfect, he was the dude in the 450 class that I saw do this the best. Just slide off this thing, push that motorcycle down, boom. Just fast and smooth. Here, I'll put it in real time. Just sexy. You could just wallpaper that. Boom. Then we've got Hunter, his older brother. He didn't hit the jump as fast, so he can't scrub as hard. And next, we'll have Kenny. Same thing. He doesn't hit the jump as hard as Jett, so he can't scrub. Just simple. He's soaking it up with his body, not throwing the bike down. It's less energy than what Jett is doing over here. But Jett is moving. Even if it's 1% faster, a couple mile an hour faster, it adds over 35 minutes. And then Deegan. Deegan did it the best in the 250 class. And he may have done it better than Jett in the 450s. So in the comments below, you tell me who did it best. Is it Deegan or Jett? That is a good segue to today's video sponsor. Speaking of doing the best, Pure Moto is not just a parts and accessory finder. A lot of major brands are starting to use it for their inventory. So for instance, you can go to Michelin, you can look at their Star Cross 6 medium hard tire. This is one of my favorite tires, and it's simple. You can check availability. You will see the Pure Moto network as it's searching. It's fast, and boom, you will find which shop has them in stock so that you can call them, tell them to hold it. Or if you're like me and you have to have instant gratification, well, you can drive your happy butt over there and purchase it that same day. If you see the PureMoto logo, you are using the PureMoto network. Make sure you stop off at puremoto.com to search a larger inventory. One of my favorite lines by Hunter Lawrence was inside one of these chicanes for this uphill double. He's using the entire track. Watch as he openly goes almost off the track, or is off the track, to stay out of all of these bumps. He finds the smooth line. Him and his brother are able to hop over stuff and just try to find the smooth line. And then from there, he's going to go outside in. And you have to point out that the superstar Hayden Deegan was the only 250 that was quadding that giant quad. That jump is freaking massive. Look at it in real time. And watch how hard he hits. And then also notice that he's lifting that front wheel up just a little bit because he's going to case it. And man, that is a hard impact on those front forks. Boom. And not to mention the body. If we move a little bit further, right after that giant quad, watch as Deegan uses one of the braking bumps and just hops into the corner by making it a double. Just jumping right up there. This is what's separating from the old technique to the new technique, is there's just a different style of flow that is transpiring in these young athletes. I have to say, if you've made it this far, I sincerely appreciate it. The channel is growing. A lot of you guys are considering liking, subscribing, hitting the notification icon rather than just watching the content. Make sure on your way out you leave a comment because I read them all. To end the show or the video, watch AP and Jett, how they have different lines through these rollers, and they actually turn these rollers into step on, step off, almost like supercrosses. AP is on the top of your screen, and notice he's going to jump, but he's going to land on top of the next roller, and he's going to preload, accelerate off. Did you see his body squish? And he's accelerating. He's wide open to preload that. Then you've got Jett behind him, who's actually going to get his front wheel up and over the top of it. On the next one, jump and preload the third. And he's actually sitting down and bouncing off. Boom. Two different lines, but relatively the same technique. We'll show that in real time. Until next time, keep it WFO. Ba-ra-da-da-da-da.